It's official, Formula 1 has a new manufacturer on the grid for 2021. Well, sort of. This manufacturer has only manufactured a few thousand versions of one model, and it's actually just a rebrand as one of the world's biggest car companies shuffles its pack. Confused? Sorry, don't give us a thumbs down, thumbs up, like, subscribe, all of that. This, if you haven't heard, is all about the Renault Formula 1 team being rebranded under the Alpine name and with new colours in 2021. We'll get to the whys and the hows and the what Alpine is in a moment, but before we do, give this channel a subscribe seriously if you haven't done already. We know that you have your choice when you check out F1 YouTube content, and we massively appreciate the fact that more than 350,000 of you are on board. But let's get down to business, because 4.5 years ago, when Renault was launching its revived Works F1 team, it said it would have a title challenge in operation by 2020. Instead, 2020 will be the Renault F1 team's final year on the grid, and it's still awaiting its first podium, let alone the full title challenge. So, if either of Daniel Ricciardo or Esteban Ocon don't grab a top 3 finish before the end of the year, Renault's Works team is going to be renamed and given a new splash of blue paint without even achieving its smallest aim. But while Renault has failed so far, the latest Team Enstone rebrand, which at least stays under Renault's control this time, has scope to succeed. It will just have to do so under a different name. So what is Alpine? It's not an unfair question, and we'll try to rattle through this quickly. Alpine's a niche French car brand that has a fine motorsport heritage of its own and a relationship with Renault that goes back more than 50 years. Renault's owned Alpine since a takeover in 1973, and what we know as Renault Sport today began life a few years after that, following a merger between the Alpine and Gordini competition departments. Modern day Renault has undergone serious review over the last year or so and required major financial reorganisation because of the impact of the coronavirus pandemic, the timing of which coincided with the arrival of new CEO Luca De Meo. Now De Meo has announced a plan to reorganise its brands into 4 business units, including making F1 team boss Cyril Abiteboul responsible for the creation, organisation and implementation of the Alpine division. Production of Alpine models ceased in the 1990s, but the revival of Alpine as a manufacturer has been mooted many times in recent years. The A110 was relaunched in 2017 and operates in its own little sphere, but now Renault wants to make it a legitimate brand in its own right and has decided F1's the perfect place to do that. Back when Renault launched this version of its Works F1 team, it did so with bold targets set by then company CEO Carlos Ghosn, whatever happened to him, and team boss Frédéric Vasseur, also gone but not on Interpol's red notice list. Once Renault got its expected painful 2016 season out of the way, it made initially positive progress through 2017 and 2018, but failing to break free of the F1 midfield and being beaten by its customer team McLaren since then has risked becoming the legacy of Renault's Works team in this era, and that failure cannot be ignored. But F1's pecking order has been enshrined for many years, and Renault was never going to shatter the status quo with a worse organisation and a smaller budget. It did have to improve a lot of things quite badly to ever be close to the likes of Mercedes, but self-improvement alone was never going to be enough without outside help. And now that outside help is coming. Renault's progress is soon going to be married to a budget cap, fairer financial distribution, and in 2022 new technical rules as well. So yeah, Renault has been underachieving for a while now, but the circumstances around the organisation appear to be aligning for arguably the first time in 6 years. Under the Alpine name, Team Enstone gets a fresh start and a genuine opportunity free from the woefully misjudged targets of 2016, but also the pressure that comes with the Renault brand. The manufacturer is burdened by its status as a 2-time world champion team in its preceding era, and the drawn-out underperformance of its revival is now being replaced by a niche brand with no baggage and a huge amount to gain in marketing terms. The downside is Renault is going to be reduced to being the engine partner again in the television coverage, in the media and in the eyes of those watching. And that's crucial to how Renault gets viewed as a brand, yet it's willingly sacrificing that, having put in all the hard yards so far just to cop the flack of being an underperforming midfield team. But Renault no doubt sees the budget cap and fairer distribution of income as an opportunity for F1 to become much more sensible financially. Sponsorship and prize money is going to take care of a bigger percentage of the expenses, and those expenses can now be split across 2 company accounts instead of 1, as Alpine will be the race team and Renault the engine manufacturer. That's going to be especially handy now there's no revenue stream coming via an engine customer, given McLaren is switching to Mercedes engines from 2021. So it spreads out the financial burden and, bolstered by the return of 2-time world champion Fernando Alonso next year as well, provides immense PR value for Alpine as a brand, plus an amount, however reduced, for Renault itself, and all of that is still going to feed back into the same overarching pot. Renault is also going to be sheltered somewhat from the PR disaster of the team continuing to fail should that happen. Alpine's goal will still be to be successful rather than make up the numbers. Alonso certainly wouldn't have it any other way, but F1's success will mean something different to the Alpine brand compared to Renault. A niche, immature brand like Alpine's going to get a lot more out of being 4th or 5th in Formula 1 than one with Renault's heritage. The group's also going to be able to register the impact of competing in Formula 1 more with Alpine than it will with something as large as Renault itself. And ultimately, the stakes are lower. That also means Renault can probably expect less blowback for underachievement, and should it ever come to it further down the line, it would also justify withdrawing a team more easily. But let's give them the benefit of the doubt and think that this is nowhere near the first stages of an exit strategy being drawn up. Even if we take the most cynical view and consider that this is just a more convenient commercial move for an F1 team Renault's not really sure what to do with, Alpine isn't going to be a half-baked effort and a sheep in wolf's clothing. The core part of the works team ethos is retained. This is going to be Alpine in name, but Enstone in reality. And Enstone is Renault, the infrastructure is Renault, the team composition is Renault, and the car design is Renault. Chassis and engine are still going to be married in the same way, even though the name above the door is different. The potential that comes with that may still be harvested, and the Alpine era will begin with the team Renault wanted to be, but just took way too long to bring together. A backward step in 2019 showed the team was at risk of treading water, and with new technical rules on the horizon, there was a serious risk of the foundations being shaky. A leadership overhaul has gradually shaken out since Marcin Budkowski was installed as executive director in early 2018, right through to Dirk de Beer and Pat Fry joining as head of aerodynamics and technical director respectively after the 2019 season. All the fundamentals of the 2020 car would have been set by this point, so this year's car is not a true product of what Renault views as the organisation required to return to the very front in Formula 1. But the development of this car and the evolution for 2021 are crucial tests of its capabilities and will determine whether or not the Alpine era builds on Renault's laboured groundwork. No customer team is a drawback for the engine side in terms of representation, but also data gathering and R&D. This is going to put pressure on Renault with restricted in-season development coming into force and no rehomologation of the fundamental engine design after the start of next season until the next engine era in the mid-2020s. The Alpine era must therefore avoid all the fundamental pitfalls that caught the team out as Renault: tough opposition, the enduring weaknesses within its own operation, vital car development phases and engine performance and reliability. But post-2021 it will have an enormous benefit compared to Renault hitting a ceiling in the midfield with a fundamentally fairer playing field. And that gives Alpine a genuine opportunity to reverse Renault's damaging multi-year capacity to overpromise and underdeliver. But what do you make of Renault's decision? Do you think a fresh start is a good move heading into F1's new era? Or is it a bit weird that Renault's giving up its self-titled team just when it might come good? Let us know in the comments below, give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel to join the race next time. We promise not to rebrand in the image of a niche car manufacturer anytime soon.